The galaxy was not quiet, but there were corners of it where silence felt heavy, almost alive. Out past the known trade routes, beyond the blinking beacons that guided civilian ships, the void was vast and unbroken, except for the whispers. They did not come as sound, but as data packets, scrambled transmissions, and rumors passed from one shadowed bar to another. The talk was always the same. Something enormous was moving in the dark, and it was not a comet, not a rogue moon, and certainly not a fleet. Those who had seen it claimed they only caught a glimpse of curve of metal, reflecting the faint glow of distant stars, or a long shadow sliding across the radar before vanishing. And then, as always, the witnesses disappeared. Entire scout ships, gone without a trace. Reports reached the Krell Empire first. They were a species that lived for war, their skin like black glass, their eyes cold and sharp. For them, information was as valuable as blood, and when whispers hinted that the shadow belonged to humans, the council laughed. Humans were fragile newcomers to the galactic stage. They had quick minds, yes, and stubborn hearts, but their fleets were small, their technology decades behind the great powers. How could they build something that made even Krell's scouts vanish? Still, the council ordered an investigation not because they feared, but because they wanted to mock whatever primitive project humans thought they could hide. On the edge of human space, a Krell scout ship named Varthon drifted through the black. Inside, Captain Shora tapped clawed fingers on the armrest, watching the scanners. The screens were clear, just static and the occasional blip of passing debris. "There's nothing here," muttered his second-in-command. Shora didn't respond. His instincts were tingling, a deep sense that the void was watching. He checked the long-range scanner again and froze. For a split second, a shape appeared. It was massive, dwarfing the largest dreadnoughts in known space. There were no running lights, no visible engines, just a faint glimmer of metal and starlight. Before the Krell crew could react, the signal vanished, as if the shape had melted into the darkness. Then every alarm on the Varthon screamed at once. Shields dropped to zero. Engines went cold. The lights flickered in through the forward viewport. Something impossible emerged. It was not a ship in the way the Krell understood ships. This thing was a moving continent, its surface layered with armor that shimmered like liquid steel. Rows upon rows of hangar doors lined its sides, each big enough to swallow the Varthon whole. The Krell crew stared in silence, breath caught in their throats. Then a light, cold and white, fell over them like a spotlight. Shora tried to speak, to order a retreat, but no sound came from his throat. In the next heartbeat, a beam of energy cut through the void, silent, precise, and the Varthon was gone. No wreckage, no signal, it's just empty space. 3 days later, in the hidden markets of the Outer Ring, a trader named Jash told the story in a shaking voice. He claimed he had picked up a stray transmission moments before the Varthon vanished. It was short, barely audible, but in it, a human voice said just 3 words: "Turn back now." The aliens listening to him exchanged glances. If this was true, then the shadow was not just some random anomaly. It was controlled, was hunting. And if the humans had built it, then they were far more dangerous than anyone had believed. In the capital world of the Krell Empire, the council met again. This time, the laughter was gone. "If the humans are hiding such a vessel," one elder growled, "why reveal it now?" Another hissed, "They did not reveal it. We stumbled into its territory." The words hung in the air. Territory. The thought was absurd. No one had ever claimed the empty black between star systems. It was too vast, too empty, too costly to patrol. But if the humans had chosen to hide their weapon there, then maybe they had been building it for decades, or waiting for the right moment to show it. Meanwhile, deep within an asteroid belt beyond Pluto's orbit, a vast hangar carved into rock housed the most guarded secret in human history. Engineers in pressure suits floated along the curved hull of something so massive it almost brushed the hangar walls. Its name was etched in black letters large enough to be read from orbit: ATLAS. The Supercarrier's hull plating was layered with experimental alloys, able to absorb and redirect energy fire. Inside, hundreds of fighters, bombers, and dropships waited in perfect silence. Whole command centers, factories, and living quarters filled the interior, making the ship not just a vessel, but a moving fortress-city. Fleet Commander Elias Yoren stood on the observation platform, his hands clasped behind his back. For months, he had been preparing the crew for an event that only a handful of people in the galaxy knew was coming. He stared at the endless curves of the ship, its armor glinting faintly under the hangar lights. "They think we're weak," he said softly to no one in particular. "They think they can surround us, choke us, and decide our future." He turned to the officers beside him, his expression cold. They are about to learn what human patience has built. Outside, the asteroid belt shifted slowly, its jagged shadows hiding the Atlas from all but the most precise scanners. Every day, scouts swept the perimeter. Every day they intercepted signals from alien ships searching for something they could not understand. And every day Commander Yarn kept the Atlas in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to step into the light. Somewhere in the void, another alien scout ship had just crossed into restricted space. Its crew would never return, and the whispers would grow louder. The galaxy still thought war with humans was predictable, even routine, but the void was holding its breath. Something was coming, something so massive, so powerful that time it moved, the galaxy would remember that humans were not prey. They were the storm. The disappearance of the Krell scout ship Varthon was supposed to be a minor footnote in the endless reports of deep space incidents. In the cold politics of the galaxy, ships vanished, all the time pirates, rogue asteroids, systems failures. But this one was different. The Varthon had been one of the Krell's fastest and most advanced recon vessels, equipped with stealth fields and long-range jammers. It had been sent into human border space with full escort protocols, its mission so secret that even its own crew hadn't known the exact coordinates, and yet it had vanished in less than a heartbeat. No distress call. No debris. Just an empty sector of black sky where it used to be. For the first few days, the Krell Empire tried to smother the story. Military spokesmen dismissed the incident as a navigational mishap, but leaks had a way of slipping through the cracks. And soon, rumors began to run wild in the outer ring. Traders whispered of a colossal human vessel prowling the edge of known space, a ship so large that it could block out the stars. Others claimed to have intercepted fragments of a chilling warning broadcast, a human voice telling the intruders to turn back, in a smoke-filled cantina on Threx Station. A thin, nervous rotary merchant named Tallow was holding court over a table. Of freight pilots, his voice trembled as he told them what he'd heard over an unencrypted channel. It was just 3 words, he said, eyes darting to the door as if the words themselves might summon danger. Clear as anything. Turn back now. The table fell silent. Even the grizzled veterans who'd fought in pirate wars seemed uneasy. Nobody threatened the Krell and survived. And yet someone had, far from the noisy cantinas and markets. In the heavily guarded halls of the Krell High Council, the tone was far less casual. The council chamber was carved from a single slab of obsidian, its black walls reflecting the pale blue glow of the central holomap. Red markers showed the Krell fleet spread across the galaxy patrolling borders, guarding colonies, threatening rivals. But at the far edge of the map, near human territory, a single red icon was flashing. It was the Varthon's last known position. High Chancellor Drex leaned forward, his jagged teeth catching the light. "We do not ignore this," he hissed. "If the humans think they can erase one of our ships without consequence, they will learn the cost." A younger counselor bared her fangs in agreement. "Send the first Talon fleet. Show them their place." But another elder, Scales, dulled with age, raised a claw. "No, not yet. The humans. They are stubborn, reckless. They build fast, but they also hide well. If this is some new weapon, we cannot rush in blind." Meanwhile, in the hidden asteroid hangar, far beyond Pluto, the Atlas stirred. Deep within its armored belly, engineers, ran final diagnostics on its massive rail cannons, each one capable of piercing the shields of a capital ship in a single shot. Its launch bays were stocked with wave after wave of fighters, their sleek black hulls coated with stealth materials that absorbed scanning pulses. Crews moved in silence, their faces hard with focus. They had been training for this moment for years, and now the first test had come. Fleet Commander Elias Yarn stood on the observation deck, his eyes locked on the tactical feed showing the Varthan's incursion and destruction. His second-in-command, Commander Rhea Klein, stepped up beside him. "The whispers are spreading," she said quietly. "The Krell will come looking." Yarn didn't look at her. "Let them look." He said, "The more they search, the more they find nothing. And when they finally see us, it will be too late to run." In a control room deeper in the ship, a young communications officer was monitoring intercepted alien transmissions. One feed, scrambled but still audible, caught her attention. It was a live report from a Krell recon drone near the human border. Unidentified mass detected, the alien voice crackled, distorted by static. "Size. Impossible. No energy signature." "No," the feed cut abruptly. The officer swallowed hard and turned to her superior. "That's the third drone this week," she said. "They're getting closer." The Atlas's AI, a highly classified system known only as Sentinel, processed the data without emotion. Across its vast neural core, patterns formed, predictions. Calculated, the Krell search grid was tightening. It was only a matter of time before they sent more than drones. Sentinel began running simulations hundreds per second, testing battle scenarios, calculating odds. Every result led to the same conclusion. Confrontation was inevitable. On the Krell side, a decision had already been made. 5 heavy cruisers and a carrier group were dispatched toward human space, their orders classified but their intent obvious. It would probe deeper, force a reaction, and, if possible, bring back proof of whatever the humans were hiding. But as they crossed the invisible line into the black void where the Atlas waited, their long-range scans began to fail. Static crept over their displays. Starfield readings twisted and warped. To the Krell crews, it was as if they had flown into the stomach of some massive creature, the galaxy's light itself dimming around them. Then far ahead, a shape emerged blacker. Then the void itself so large, it seemed unreal. For a moment, the Krell flagship's captain thought it was a shadow cast by some unseen world. Then the shape moved. Armor plating rippled with reflected starlight, and the outline of the Atlas became clear. Its sheer size defied logic, an entire city drifting through space, silent and watchful. Inside, the Supercarrier alarms remained. Silent. No one rushed. No one panicked. This was exactly what Yarn had been waiting for. He leaned over the comm console and spoke 4 words into the darkness, words that would never reach the Krell fleet intact, because they would not live long enough to hear them twice. The void trembled as the first weapons charged. The Krell fleet advanced with the cold precision of predators, their formation tight, their weapons hot but not yet unleashed. In the darkness of uncharted space, their sensors struggled to lock on to the massive silhouette that hovered ahead. The Atlas floated like an ancient beast, awakening from centuries of slumber, its black hull absorbing light, its surface bristling with weapon emplacements, so vast that even the Krell's largest warship seemed like a shuttle in comparison. Yet, despite its size, the Supercarrier was deathly still, as if it were listening. Inside, every corridor was dim, lit, every station manned, every system primed to strike. Crew members spoke in hushed tones, aware that this was the moment everything had been built for. Commander Elias Yarn stood at the bridge's panoramic viewport, his hands clasped behind his back. His voice was low, but carried a weight that cut through the silence. "They've stepped into our shadow. No turning back now," sighed him. Rhea Klein's jaw was set, her eyes tracking the Krell ships on the tactical display. "If we fire first," she warned, "there's no going back. This will be war, real war." Yarn didn't look at her. "It already is. The moment they erased our borders, the moment they sent their spies into our home, they made this war. All we're doing is letting them see the truth. Far outside, the Krell commander, Admiral Vorthus, was pacing the deck of his flagship, a massive cruiser named the Bloodfang. His reptilian eyes narrowed as the Atlas loomed ahead, its size so incomprehensible that his crew was whispering superstitions. "It's not possible," one of his officers muttered. "No species builds a ship that big." But Vorthus silenced him with a glare. "Humans have always been underestimated. That is why they are dangerous, and that is why this ship must be destroyed." Yet his claws tapped the arm of his command chair. For all his bravado, the sight unsettled him. He'd fought against enemy dreadnoughts, planetary defenses, orbital fortresses, but this was different. This ship felt alive. The first strike came not with fire, but with silence. One moment the Krell fleet's channels were alive with chatter, targeting data and fleet orders. The next, every frequency went dead, jumped cut off. As if the signals had been swallowed whole, their radar screens showed only static. Navigation arrays spun with false readings. Vorthus's second officer reported in a trembling voice, "We've lost contact with all escorts beyond visual range." The Admiral's gaze shot to the viewport where he now saw that the Atlas had begun to move. Forward section shifted, revealing vast weapon bays sliding open like the jaws of a predator. Inside the Atlas, Sentinel's calm, synthetic voice resonated across the bridge. "Targets locked. Enemy formations unstable. Recommend coordinated precision strike to disable. Primary vessels in under 45 seconds. Yaren's lips curved into a faint smile. "Do it!" Across the ship, energy surged through rail cannon capacitors. Missile silos hissed open, and squadrons of stealth fighters prepared for launch. The first shot was a single kinetic slug from the Atlas's primary railgun silent, invisible to sensors, until it struck. When it did, it tore straight through the Krell's lead cruiser as if it were paper. Exiting on the far side in a spray of molten metal, the ship didn't explode immediately, it simply came apart. Breaking into two massive chunks that drifted helplessly in the void, the Krell formation erupted into chaos. Some ships veered away, trying to regroup. Others pushed forward, determined to close the gap. But then the fighters came. They emerged from the Atlas in disciplined waves, their black hulls gliding through the darkness like shards of shadow. Krell gunners tried to track them, but their targeting systems were useless. The fighters had no readable energy signatures. Until their weapons lit up, Admiral Vorthus bellowed orders, forcing his ships into defensive lines. "Concentrate fire on the carrier. Overwhelm it." But the Atlas was already moving with deceptive grace for its size, rotating on hidden thrusters, its armor shimmering under incoming plasma fire. The return barrage was merciless missiles detonating mid-flight to scatter shrapnel clouds that shredded enemy hulls. Point defense turrets swatting aside anything that got too close. Then came the moment no one on either side would forget. From the Atlas's ventral bay, a weapon unlike any seen before deployed. To Krell eyes, it looked like a massive spike of metal, hundreds of meters long. In reality, it was a magnetic, Lanson experimental weapon designed not to destroy ships outright, but to tear through shields and disrupt every electrical system inside. When it fired, the effect was devastating. The Bloodfang shuddered violently as its lights flickered and engines sputtered. Admiral Vorthus gripped the railing, his claws digging deep. "What have they done?" he snarled. On the Atlas, Yaren watched the enemy flagship drift, crippled but not destroyed. "Hold fire," he ordered suddenly. Rhea turned to him in disbelief. "We could finish them." But Yaren shook his head. "Not yet. They need to go back and tell the others what they saw. Fear will do more damage than destruction ever could." For a tense moment, the Krell fleet hesitated, damaged, disoriented, and facing a ship that defied all their military knowledge. They began to retreat, towing what crippled vessels they could. The Atlas didn't pursue, it simply watched, massive and silent, until the last Krell ship vanished into the black. Only then did Yaren turn away from the viewport. "They'll be back," Rhea said quietly. Yaren nodded. "Yes. But next time they'll bring everything they have." And that is when they'll finally see what this ship can truly do. Deep in the AI core, Sentinel processed the encounter and updated its predictions. Probability of future large-scale conflict, 100%. Estimated time until return engagement, less than 1 standard month. And somewhere in the darkness, far beyond human sensors, the Krell were already plotting their revenge. The Krell homeworld burned with the light of industry. Massive orbital shipyards hung above the planet like a chain of metal suns, each one constructing warships at a pace no human fleet could match. From space, the surface glowed with the forge. Heat of entire continents turned into weapons factories. The first defeat at the hands of the Atlas had not weakened them. Krell leaders spoke of honor and vengeance, of showing the humans their place in the galaxy. But behind the public fury, there was a colder, sharper plan forming. Admiral Vorthus had survived the encounter, and though some of his peers whispered that he should be replaced, none could deny that he had faced something extraordinary. And now, he was obsessed with understanding it, in a sealed chamber aboard the Krell High Council station. Vorthus stood before a projection of the Atlas. Every detail was reconstructed from fragmented battle footage, sensor echoes, and pilot accounts. It is not just a ship, he told the gathered warlords. It is a fortress, a factory, and a predator all in one. And it is not invincible, if we understand it. A grizzled counselor leaned forward, his scales dull with age. You were given the most advanced fleet in Krell history, and yet you limped home. You say this ship is not invincible, then why do I still see it in our skies? Vorthus's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. Because next time, I intend to bring something it has never faced, something that will force the humans to fight. On our terms. Far across the galaxy, aboard the Atlas, the mood was tense, but controlled. Commander Yaren had called a full staff briefing in the War Council chamber, a circular room with a holographic galaxy map floating above the table. Red markers flared across Krell territory supply routes, fleet staging points, deep space relay stations. Rhea Klein sat forward, studying the data. They're building something massive, she said. The scale of activity is too big for a standard fleet. They're pooling resources from every colony. Sentinel's voice filled the chamber, precise and calm. Analysis indicates the assembly of a superfleet numbering over 3,000. War-capable vessels. Estimated readiness, 29 days. The crew exchanged glances. 29 days was barely enough time to prepare the Atlas for another confrontation, let alone coordinate the scattered human defense network. But Sentinel wasn't done. Probability suggests the Krell will integrate an unknown weapon system. Data patterns indicate it is not of Krell design. That caught everyone's attention. Yaren leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Not Krell design. Then whose? The AI paused for a fraction of a second in eternity in machine terms. Unknown origin. Energy signatures match pre-contact artifacts found on the dead worlds in the Orion Fringe. The room went silent. Those dead worlds were spoken of only in rumors. Entire civilizations erased long before humans left Earth, their ruins haunted by alien technology too dangerous to study. If the Krell had found and weaponized one of those relics, the next battle could be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Meanwhile, deep within the ship, maintenance crews worked day and night. Engineers crawled through engine conduits, upgrading shield harmonics, and reinforcing the Atlas's armor plates with experimental alloys. The hangar bays were alive with activity fighter squadrons testing new stealth systems. Bomber wings receiving munitions that could shatter entire city blocks. But for all their work, there was an undercurrent of unease. The Krell weren't just coming back. They were coming back smarter. Back in Krell space. Vorthus oversaw the secret heart of his plan. In the largest shipyard orbiting the gas giant, Zorvel, something was taking shape, something that dwarfed even the Krell's greatest dreadnoughts. The engineers called it the Harbinger. It was no mere warship. Its core was built around a weapon salvaged from the Orion Fringean artifact, pulsing with cold blue light, contained in a cage of black metal. The scientists barely understood how it worked, but they knew what it could do. It could rip open space itself, creating a gravitational rupture that could tear apart even a supercarrier. But there was a price. The weapon could not be controlled indefinitely. Once activated, it would consume itself and possibly everything nearby. In the War Council chamber aboard the Atlas, Sentinel's projections shifted. A new image appeared. The Harbinger, assembled from intercepted data bursts and long-range scans. The crew stared at it in grim silence. Yaren spoke first. "They've built their own monster." Ria's voice was low. "Then the next fight won't be about who wins. It'll be about who survives." Yaren nodded slowly. "Then we make sure we survive. And we make sure they don't." As the days ticked down, patrols reported strange sensor readings at the edge of human space, warps in gravity, flashes of light with no source, ghost signals that vanished before they could be traced. Every sign pointed to one truth. The Krell weren't waiting for the humans to strike first this time. They were coming. And when they arrived, they wouldn't just be bringing an army. They'd be bringing the weapon that could end the war before it truly began. The Krell came without warning. No declaration, no threat, no build-up. One moment, the border sectors were quiet. The next, they were torn open by a hyperspace rupture so violent it sent shockwaves through nearby star systems. Out of the rift came the Harbinger, flanked by an endless swarm of Krell warships. The sheer scale of the fleet dwarfed anything humanity had seen, rows upon rows of battlecruisers, carriers and gunships stretching so far into the darkness that scanners failed to measure the full number. On the Atlas, alarms screamed across every deck. The bridge lit up with crimson battle indicators as Commander Yaren stepped into the center pit, voice sharp and steady. "Sentinel, confirm fleet composition." The AI's response came instantly. "Confirmed Krell, Superfleet, approximately 3,000 ships, Central Command vessel, Harbinger. Energy spike detected. Known weapon charging." The crew exchanged tense glances. They had all heard the rumors about the Harbinger's core, but seeing it in action was another matter. The first blow came fast. Without even closing the distance, the Harbinger fired. From its heart burst a beam of blue-white. Energy, not like any laser or plasma weapon known, didn't simply burn, it pulled. Space itself twisted and folded, tearing a human forward base station apart as if it were made of paper. Fighters, cruisers, even asteroids caught in the beam's path were crushed inward before vanishing into a pinpoint of collapsing light. The shockwave rippled out, rattling the Atlas's shields from millions of kilometers away. "Distance closing," Sentinel reported. "Time to direct engagement, 2 minutes, 32 seconds. Yaren didn't wait. "All squadrons launch. Shields to maximum. Bring plasma lances online and spin up the rail batteries." Across the Atlas, hangar bays roared open. Dozens of fighter wings streaked into the darkness, their engines burning like white fire. Interceptor groups formed tight defensive grids, while bomber wings began long, arcing approaches meant to slip through the Krell's overlapping shield screens. The battle exploded into chaos. Human fighters darted and weaved through swarms of Krell drones, unleashing missile barrages and pulse cannon fire. Krell gunships answered with relentless precision, their turrets tracking even the smallest craft. The Atlas itself moved like a predator, vast but fluid, rolling on its axis to bring different weapons to bear. Each shot from its rail batteries tore through multiple enemy ships in a single line, but for every Krell vessel destroyed, more seemed to appear from the darkness. Then the Harbinger fired again. This time, the gravitational rupture targeted a human heavy cruiser formation. The beams locked on, and in seconds, the cruisers buckled, their hulls twisting into spirals before imploding. The survivors scattered, but the message was clear: if the Atlas took that hit, it would be over. In the War Council chamber, Ria Klein's hands flew over the tactical board. "We can't match that thing head-on. We need to take out its weapon core." Sentinel's voice came cold and exact. "Weapon core is heavily shielded. Probability of success with current loadout, 17%. Yaren didn't flinch. "Then we make it 100. He turned to the fighter command channel. "Shadow Squadron, prepare for deep strike. You're going in under their shields." Shadow Squadron's pilots knew what that meant: getting close enough to a Krell superweapon, to drop shield disruptors. By hand, it was suicide. And yet every pilot acknowledged the order without hesitation. Their leader, Captain Harlan Vex, spoke only once over the comms. "We take that thing out, the fleet survives. We miss. There won't be anyone left to remember us." As the battle raged, Shadow Squadron slipped into the storm. Using debris fields and the Atlas's long-range bombardments as cover, they weaved toward the Harbinger. Krell interceptors swarmed like hornets, but the human pilots fought with brutal efficiency. Their every move designed to buy a few more seconds of life. On the Atlas, the crew watched their progress in silence. Every green blip on the tactical display was a heartbeat, and one by one those blips began to wink out. But the survivors pushed on, until finally, Vex's voice cut through the static. Payload set. Detonating in 3, 2, 1. The void erupted. The Harbinger's shields flickered, stuttering under the sudden pulse of the disruptors. For the first time in the battle, the alien behemoth looked vulnerable. Yarn didn't wait for Sentinel's calculations. "All batteries fire on my mark." The Atlas unleashed everything it had: dragons, plasma lances, missile storms, hammering the exposed weapon core. The Harbinger reeled, its blue light sputtering. But before anyone could celebrate, the energy within it surged again, brighter and wilder than before. Sentinel's voice dropped to a near whisper. "Warning, core instability detected. Probability of catastrophic rupture, 89%. And in that moment, both sides realized the same thing. If the Harbinger went critical, it would take everything nearby with it. It wasn't sound, there was no air in the void, but every human on the Atlas swore they felt it. A deep, bone-rattling vibration that made metal tremble and teeth ache. Its core had gone unstable. The blue-white light at its heart was no longer steady, but flaring wildly, pulsing like the heartbeat of some dying star. Each pulse tore the surrounding space into jagged distortions, ripping smaller ships apart without even touching them. On the bridge, Sentinel's voice was sharp, faster than usual. Lane are running at full combat urgency. Warning, core overload in 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Blast radius will extend approximately 0.7 astronomical units. All ships within range will be annihilated. The tactical display was a sea of red. Human ships were breaking away in a desperate retreat, but the Krell, they weren't leaving. The alien vessels were swarming tighter around the Harbinger, almost as if they were trying to shield it, protect it even in its death throes. Commander Yarn narrowed his eyes. "They're not evacuating." "Why?" Rhea Klein's fingers danced across her console. "It's not an accident, Yarn. I think they're forcing the overload. They're turning it into a weapon." The realization hit like ice water. The Harbinger wasn't just dying, it was about to take the entire human fleet with it. "Time. To safe distance?" Yaren asked. Sentinel didn't hesitate. "For minutes. And how long until detonation?" 2 minutes, 35 seconds. They wouldn't make it. Even at maximum burn, the Atlas and every ship still fighting would be vaporized. The only way to survive was to end the Harbinger's core reaction now. Yarn turned to the engineering. "Pit options?" Chief Engineer Loras' voice cracked with disbelief. "Only one, sir. We dump the Atlas's entire reactor output into its rail. Batteries, everything, focus on the core and hit it before it fully breaches. But once we drain the core, we're dead in the water." It was the kind of choice that ended career Zor. "Lives, do it," Yarn said without a pause. Power surged through the Atlas. Lights dimmed. Artificial gravity flickered. Every spare watt of energy roared into the ship's spinal railguns, the weapons glowing with a dangerous heat. In the hangars, pilots still fighting received the message. Cover the Atlas at all costs. The Krell knew. As if sensing the plan, their ships broke from defensive lines and charged the Atlas in suicidal waves. Human fighters dove into the chaos, intercepting them in furious close-range battles that left space littered with wreckage. Every impact against the Atlas's shields made the ship shudder, but it kept its nose pointed at the Harbinger. "Range 2 target?" Yaren asked. 800 kilometers, Sentinel replied. "Recommend firing now." Yaren's jaw tightened. Not yet. The seconds stretched into eternities. The Harbinger's pulses were almost blinding now, tearing reality into jagged shards. Another Krell destroyer rammed itself into the Atlas's starboard flank, but the shields held barely range. 600 kilometers. Yaren's voice was ice, fire. The Atlas's twin railguns unleashed their fury. 2 hyperdense tungsten slugs shot forward at a fraction below light speed. They crossed the distance in a blink, slamming in two. The Harbinger's weapon core with the force of planetary impacts. The blue light flared, then collapsed inward. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the universe tore itself open. The Harbinger's core imploded in a violent gravitational collapse, pulling in Krell ships by the hundreds before detonating in a burst of white fire. The shockwave raced outward, hurling the Atlas like a leaf in a hurricane. Hull plating ripped, systems failed, and for long moments there was nothing but the roaring of destruction. When it was over, the stars returned. The Krell fleet was going to neither destroyed in the blast or fled into the deep void. Its engines cold, its hull scarred, but still alive. Round it, the few surviving human ships formed up, their battered silhouettes proof of the cost paid. On the bridge, no one spoke. They just stared at the fading light where the Harbinger had been, the shadow of its wrath still burning in their eyes. Why? Aaron broke the silence. Signal command. Tell them. The Atlas still stands. Somewhere deep in the black, the Krell would remember this day, the day human hands reached into the heart of a superweapon and tore it apart.